I'm Joanna Small, the Public Information Officer for the Commerce City Police Department. It's Monday, April 8th, and this is your weekend high or lowlights, depending on how you look at it. It's essentially our video blotter where we give you a rundown of the most significant incidents your CCPD patrol officers responded to over the weekend. But we do like to start off with a few fast facts. We answered 313 calls for service and made 95 traffic stops. Now here are those highlights in chronological order. During the early morning hours of Friday, a disturbance call turned into an arrest for a number of serious driving violations. Officers were dispatched to the 5400 block of East 60th and found the driver of a vehicle there appeared to be under the influence of drugs and alcohol. There was also an open container of alcohol in her car. She had a warrant for her arrest, and her driver's license had been canceled and denied. She's now facing charges for all of those offenses. A few hours later on Highway 85, that same shift of officers responded to a report of a vehicle impeding traffic. When they got to the scene, they found a man asleep behind the wheel of his car. We attempted to transport him to the police station, but he continued to fall asleep and was unable to stand, so he was taken instead to the hospital. We're glad we encountered him when we did, both for his safety and the safety of others. He's now facing charges for DUI, driving without a license, and impeding traffic. He also had altered and expired license plates. We had several similar calls to this one this weekend in which drivers were unconscious behind the wheel due to drugs or alcohol. You probably saw this next incident posted on our various social media platforms, and we are still asking for the public's help. Early Saturday morning, officers responded to a shooting in the 6200 block of Glencoe, in which multiple shots were fired and many people fled that scene. Fortunately, we don't believe there were any injuries, but we are looking for these three individuals as persons of interest. If you know who they are or where they may be, please call our investigative tip line at the number listed on your screen. Remember that you can always do so anonymously. You also likely saw this incident posted as well. Officers did not hesitate to run into a residence in the 6100 block of East 62nd to ensure that all people were safely evacuated from a fire. Thankfully, they acted quickly enough that was the case, but several officers were transported to the hospital for smoke inhalation. We're very proud of our team who risked their own lives, just as we promised we always will do. Also on Saturday, officers responded to the 5800 block of Poplar Street for reports of a felony menacing. The victim told us he got into an altercation with a stranger who had illegally entered his backyard. When the suspect saw officers, he fled, then approached one of our officers with a brick, holding it as though he was going to strike her. After a foot chase and scuffle, officers took the suspect into custody. He's now facing several felony menacing charges as well as assault, criminal trespass, obstruction, and resisting arrest charges. Early Sunday morning, officers were called to a residence in the 15,000 block of East 103rd Place for a fight and a shooting that appeared to also be a hate crime. When they arrived, they spoke with the victim, who said he was physically assaulted due to his sexual orientation, and at least one shot was fired but did not strike him. A gun was recovered inside the house. There are nearly half a dozen suspects involved in this incident, which is still under investigation. Also on Sunday, officers responded to an apartment complex for a disturbance involving an individual staff said causes frequent problems. Although the suspect was gone, we learned he had 2 active felony warrants for his arrest, including one for kidnapping. When he returned, staff notified us and we were able to take him into custody. Again on Sunday, officers were called to an assault that occurred in the 5900 block of Dahlia Street. The suspect had beaten the victim, causing a likely broken nose. When the suspect was arrested, he was extremely combative, banging his head against the partition inside one of our patrol vehicles, fighting with officers, and seizing or feigning a seizure. He was examined by medical personnel who said he was physically fine and he was transported to jail. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Have a safer week, Commerce City, and remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.